Hello and welcome to another episode of Chuchu is a Ranker. On this episode we're going to be continuing our albums of the year list. This time it's 1993. So 1993, not the greatest year in terms of depth, but however time is heaving and pulsating and pushing out the birth of Britpop this year, so I can't be too mad at it. So yeah, Britpop, a very short trend. By the year 2000 it's dead and buried, but that was a very special period for me because it was the period where I was a teenager and first started listening to music and buying records with my pocket money. So yeah, great stuff and tons of nostalgia incoming over the next few years for yours truly. So without further ado, let's be complete rankers and rank up a storm. These are my top 10 favorite albums of 1993. So we're going to be kicking off this list with Fugazi, which was the second album by Suede. So on this you have more of that cathartic reverb-kissed shoegaze. Yeah, on this one they're kind of stepping on nicely, much more dynamic soundscapes on this. It's a good progression from their first album, and this record is actually considered to be one of the best of the shoegaze genre. I think fans of the genre absolutely love this one. And yeah, I can see why, plenty of great stuff on this. Kicks off with Allison and Machine Gun, two songs with kind of more immediate hooks that just kind of pull you into it. Talking about immediate hooks, a bit later on the album you have When the Sun Hits, which is just a really great pop song with that kind of wall of sound that shoegaze often has. And you also have the awesome atmospheric Fugazi Space Station, one of my favorites on the album. So yeah, this is good progress from Slow Dive and an excellent shoegaze record. Another sophomore effort coming at you next, we have Rid of Me by Polly Jean Harvey. So yeah, this moves on the artist very nicely from her debut Dry, like much more dynamic sound across this and just better songs throughout. And on this one you just have that kind of wiry, grungy alt rock that's like really aggressive and kind of in your face. PJ Harvey herself, her lyrics are very like feminist and very like standoffish. It's really badass and really cool. And there's also this kind of like off-kilter nature to the melodies on this. It's almost like this record was made to be kind of unsettling. So yeah, really cool stuff and plenty of great tracks on this. Kicks off with the opener and title track Rid of Me. She's asking you to lick her limbs of desire. Who could say no to that? But yeah, other good tracks on this: Rub Till It Bleeds, 50 Foot Queenie, Snake is a late album classic. So yeah, this is a really solid, consistent album of just straight up sexy aggression. But yeah, a note does go out to whoever's out there in remaster land. Please remaster this record. Please remaster all of PJ Harvey's back catalogue. Like, she is sadly lacking in that department and deserves more respect. So yeah, but still, great stuff. So coming in next, we have Laid by James, which is James's masterpiece in my opinion. So on this one, they're definitely stripping things back. You have much more of an acoustic sound on this. The songs are kind of given space to breathe, and I really like that because one of my complaints with James is that they just tend to like overlayer and overcook everything. But definitely that's not the case on this record, and yet there are tons of good tracks on this. Out to Get You, really catchy opener. Sometimes, like, I love that lyric, like, sometimes when I look deep in your eyes, I swear I can see your soul. Like, really awesome lyric. Actually, when I say it right here, it sounds cheesy as fuck, but like when you actually hear it in the song, it's done really, really well. Say Something, also really catchy. And of course, the best track on this is without question the title track, Laid. I absolutely love that song. It's just one of the best pop songs of the 90s. I live in Japan and karaoke is a common thing out there, and one of my favorite karaoke songs is Laid by James. I just love screaming those lyrics out. It's super, super fun. I locked you out, you cut a hole in the wall. I found you sleeping next to me, I thought I was alone. Like, it's just so funny. So yeah, this is a really great album and highly recommended. So next up we have Songs of Faith and Devotion by Depeche Mode, which is actually my favourite Depeche Mode record, yet it's kind of coming in quite low on this list, I guess, which I think is more a reflection of how good the other records are on this list, rather than pinpointing any weakness in this particular album, because I think this particular album is absolutely fantastic, and I love the more kind of organic direction that they've taken with this. There's much more natural instrumentation on this and a lot less sequencing, and some of the atmospheric soundscapes are like far beyond what the Depeche Mode have done before, and plenty of great tracks on this. I Feel You, Walking in My Shoes, two songs that immediately, you know, take you to synth pop heaven, really cool. Condemnation, really awesome ballady type song. Judas, In My Room are absolutely awesome. Rush is great, and the closer, Higher Love, with its sweeping orchestral suite, absolutely fantastic stuff. And so yeah, this is just a really great record by Depeche Mode, and I'm as surprised as you are that it isn't higher on this list. Next up, we have more fantastic post-hardcore punk from Fugazi, this time with their third album, In on the Kill Taker. So yeah, this is just an improvement on everything that Fugazi had done previously, and I was already a fan of that. So yeah, this is just like Fugazi with their pie sheet pushed all the way to the edges of the baking tray. This is the fullest, most dynamic record they've made. I specifically love the way that the songs often segue into one another. Basically gives you no space to breathe on this record, and yeah, it just makes it more cohesive and more like artistically satisfying, but they haven't lost any of their ferociousness or energy. Plenty of mosh inducing songs on this. I'm a really huge fan of the song Rend It. I think that's an absolute classic. So yeah, I mean, you want to wash around your room, smash shit up and shout anti-capitalist slogans? Fugazi got your back once again. So we're going to be kicking off this top 5 with Giant Steps by the Boo Radleys, which was the Boo's second album, and this is an album of very kind of psychedelic Britpop. There's lots of jangle rock influences and shoegaze and chamber pop on this. It just kind of runs the gambit. Tons of variety on this and tons of great tracks, and it's easy to overlook at this point in time, but this album was actually hailed as Album of the Year by both NME and Select Magazine, which at that time were huge publications, so this does have some critical wallet behind it, and plenty of great tracks on this. I Hang Suspended just immediately opens with that classic Britpop sound. I Wish I Was Skinny, just great jangle pop. Butterfly McQueen is great. Barney and Me is fantastic. Lazarus, the single with a huge euphoric trumpet section, really cool. And yeah, this album is an hour and 4 minutes, so it does slightly overstay its welcome, but this is just, yeah, a really classic, often overlooked early Britpop masterpiece. Next up, we have Gentleman by the Afghan Wigs. So this was the Afghan Wigs' fourth album, and this is actually a concept album about the very end of a toxic relationship, about everything kind of breaking down and splitting up. This is obviously a very emotional record, and the singer and lyricist is really going for it here. It's, you know, obviously very emotional and honest. It's a really cool record from a lyrical perspective, but also musically, like the guitar work on this is really cool. It has like this arpeggiated indie kind of guitar work, but just with lashings of like grunge distortion on it. It's a pretty cool juxtaposition, and tons of great tracks on this. Gentleman, the title track, really heavy, really catchy. Be Sweet, like I love the guitar work on Be Sweet. I love that guitar riff, it's really awesome. Debonair has an almost kind of like scatter funk vibe to it. My Curse is really cool, and the highlight on this album is I Keep Coming Back, which is just one of those mega ballads, super emotional, just sadness just dripping off that. And on that track, you know, you can hear bands like The Walkmen like getting their start. It's really cool. So yeah, this record, highly recommended. It's awesome. So coming in third place and taking home the bronze medal, we have Liberation by the Divine Comedy, which was technically the band's second album, although everybody, including myself, kind of considers it to be their first one. For reasons. If you want to know those reasons, you can check out the full ranking video I did on the Divine Comedy. I was very proud of that video. But yeah, I absolutely fucking love this record. On a subjective level, this would be my number one of 1993. I loved it as a teenager, and I love it even more now. And yeah, Neil Hannon is always a really fun, witty presence, and here he's in Fine Fettle, and this is just an album of indie chamber pop, very European. It sounds like it could have just come directly from a Victorian music hall, and just fantastic tracks on this. Highlights include Festive Road, the twinkling piano opener, Bernice Bobs Her Hair. I absolutely love the arpeggiated guitar work on that. Europop is just, well, a trashy piece of Europop, but it's really, really funny, and I love the organ work on it. Three Sisters, again, more gorgeous organ work on that, and it explodes into these Eastern guitar riffs. It's really, really cool. And the best track off of this is the closing track, Lucy, which takes 3 William Wordsworth poems and layers them over this gorgeous slice of jangle pop. So yeah, I love this record. In fact, I love every single song off of this. It's just brilliant and an easy placing on this list. So, silver medal time, and the silver medal is going to go to the self-titled debut album by Suede. So yeah, this was a really important album because it was like the clarion call at the start of Britpop, the first Britpop record to really kind of break out of the shadows into the mainstream. Yeah, and on this you have a really kind of sad, reverb-heavy, atmospheric kind of soundscape, but also singles to die for on this. I mean, it kicks off with So Young and Animal Nitrate, just really, really catchy singles. And then you have She's Not Dead. You know, it features the Brett Anderson lyric, "She's fucking with the slip of a man." I mean, can you get a more Suede-esque lyric than that one? I think not. Plenty of other great tracks on this. Pantomime Horse is a classic. The Drowners, the band's debut single, was awesome. Metal Mickey, also another classic single. But as I said, the record is really atmospheric, and you also have Sleeping Pills, and my favourite track on the album is actually the closing track, The Next Life, beautiful piano ballad. So yeah, this is a great debut from Suede, a defining record of the kind of early Britpop period, and yeah, an easy placing on this list. So here we are at the top of the mountain, and the gold medal is going to go to August and Everything After, which was the debut album by the Counting Crows. And yeah, all this talk about Britpop and British music, and the gold medal is going to an American band, so shame on me, shame on my Britishness. But yeah, this record is just absolutely fantastic. I first heard this when I was a teenager, and I really enjoyed it back then, and I still enjoy it now. It's lost none of its impact, and mostly because this is a record which really captures kind of lightning in a bottle. It's one of those albums where the singer and lyricist, in this case Adam Duritz, is just ripping open his chest, pulling out his heart, and just slamming it on the counter, you know, for everybody to come and have a good look. Very lyrically honest. The singer's obviously dealing with a lot of heartbreak and loneliness and displacement on this record. Yeah, it has a really cool autumnal vibe. The band are obviously taking a lot of cues from R.E.M., but yeah, it's just like FM rock perfection, this album. Just full of really amazing tunes. Round Here is a great opener. Mr. Jones, a really catchy single. Then you have like this section of the record that's just absolutely pitch perfect. You have Perfect Blue Buildings, and It Begins, Time and Time Again, Rain King, Sullivan Street. Man, just wall-to-wall classics there. Raining in Baltimore as well, beautiful piano ballad. So yeah, I absolutely love this record. I always have done, and it's a pretty easy first place. That said, I'm actually not a huge Counting Crows fan. I really love this record, but I really feel like the band went off a cliff and never really recovered after this record. So yeah, kind of a one-hit wonder. And that's it. That's my 1993 list, but that might not be your list. Your list might look completely different. What? No Modern Life is Rubbish by Blur on this list? Get the fuck out of town. Actually, that's a pretty good record. That just missed this list. like, share, subscribe, and all that other kind of YouTube jazz. Make sure to check back for my 1994 list, but most importantly, just keep on ranking and pray for Ukraine.